Rest in peace, headphone users, for anyone that was watching this episode of Kimetsu no Yaiba. That demon doing, like, the screech with, like, the teeth chattering was just unnerving. Like, honestly, that was some horror movie stuff. Like, that was. Like, the way the teeth, like, chattering to just the screaming was like, whoa. If there's one thing I can always expect from Studio Photable, is they're really good on sound effects. They've always been really good with sound effects ever since the era of Fate Zero, in my personal opinion, maybe even before that. But if you've ever watched, like, say, Fate Zero, Fate Stay Night, and you've watched, let's say, God Eater to, let's say, Karno Kyokai, then you'll know for a fact that Studio Photable, they're really good with sound effects. They've always been. Even if they might have sometimes some weird CGI, like, God Eater, they usually have some beautiful sound effects. And that's a big thing here with this episode. It's not just like the demon screeching. Like, yes, like I said, rest in peace headphone users, and oh man, I would not want to listen to that on repeat. But I will say, though, in terms of getting the point across of how unhuman or, like, inhuman, like, these demons are, I think that they really nailed it with the sound effect on that. And the little effects to just the moving of the cloth of the clothing, to just the characters walking, to a drawing of the sword, there's just these little elements throughout the episode that really just give life. And I think that's one of the big things that's really making this anime just so amazing. It's not just the art and animation. It's the sound effects. The sound effects are a really big part that is just giving more life to the show than it already had. And, I mean, you also have the soundtrack as well. The soundtrack is easily probably one of my favorite things about this anime. I mean, I love the story stuff, don't get me wrong, but that soundtrack is great. It's honestly something that I'm thinking heavily of investing in. Like, I'm thinking of buying the album to this, series once it comes out, because it's that good. Like, I really love the creepy music and the background and all that, just when it's building up the atmosphere of a certain scene, especially with Tanjiro having to figure out where a demon's at. The music just really nails the certain key scenes throughout an episode, and it's easily, like I said, the best part, besides sound effects. So, okay, enough with that. Let's get into this episode. So, let's talk about Nezuko. Nezuko, she actually got out and started fighting in this episode. She kicked the demon that was getting up on Tanjiro, kicked him and knocked him away, and basically started to kind of like, reassure the boy that Tanjiro is helping in this episode. And it is revealed that the Sensei was actually using some form of hypnosis on her to make it to where she looks at humans as friends/family and demons that attack humans as an enemy. And it's honestly something that kind of builds more to Nezuko's character, why she will not attack humans, but it also leads to some big gray areas for her, because right now, I understand why the Sensei did it, which I'll talk about, but when I think about her being hypnotized, I feel like this is going to go down a path where she's going to do something that won't relatively be a good thing. For instance, hypothetically, I have a feeling that the possibility of Nezuko being hypnotized now and her attacking pretty much any demon on sight is going to be 100% now. And if there's, let's say, a demon that's going to start a conversation with Tanjiro and he's able to get some information out of the person, and maybe the demon isn't necessarily that bad, I highly doubt. I want to be honest with you, I highly doubt every single demon in this series is straight up horrible. I just doubt that. If something like Nezuko can exist, then I believe that there's probably other demons out there that aren't necessarily bad. Maybe not entirely good, but not just straight up evil. So I feel like this is going to lead to some complications in the future. That Nezuko, with being hypnotized, she might attack a demon that is not necessarily bad, but in turn kill the demon, which is going to really shake up Tanjiro and realize, like, this isn't good. Like, she needs to understand that not all demons are bad, and not all humans are good as well. Because, once again, I feel like that's going to be a big part to play as well. If she looks at all humans as not an enemy, and as a friend, that's also going to hurt them in the long run. Because let's also face the facts that there's bound to be humans in this series that are not necessarily good people. Probably humans that want to become demons. So, when you look at all these little details, spells. The hypnosis, it works in theory, but long-term for the journey, I just don't think it's going to work. We'll see where that goes. Now, speaking of why the Sensei did it, if I had to assume anything, he did it because of his love for Tanjiro. He didn't do it to be malicious. He didn't do it to really hurt Nezuko. In fact, what he did, it was really good intentions. I do believe deep down what the Sensei did was trying to do good by Tanjiro, because he shouldn't need to worry about his sister accidentally attacking people. Yes, she's obviously different. She's a lot calmer and she's not attacking people, and she's most likely resting to be able to recharge herself instead of consuming humans. Fine. But it still doesn't change the fact that she still is very dangerous. Something could easily set her off. And so, the Sensei probably took an extra layer of precaution to make sure something like that does not necessarily happen. Because if he does that, and, you know, she encounters something to where a human's getting hurt, and she thinks the human's friend or slash family, then everything might work out. So, since this is Tanjiro's first job, really being a demon slayer, going out of his way and hunting demons, you know, he shouldn't have to be worrying about his sister as well, because of just how dangerous, you know, this job can be. So, I think deep down, once again, it is necessarily a good thing what happened, but like I said, I do believe it's going to lead into some problems. Now, okay, let's talk about the overall box situation. I'm going to be honest with you, the whole scene where Tanjiro sat down the box like, hey, here you go, and all that, get in, see if you fit. And, like, we don't see Nezuko inside the box, and we just see Tanjiro's face outside of it, and when he closes it, it's very unsettling. It's creepy, honestly. It's a very creepy scene, and I don't think it was intentional by Studio Photable, or, you know, the series in general to do that, but just seeing, like, a character say, oh, you'll be safe and all that, and it just closes a box and locks it up, it's like, I'm not going to really get too deep in that, because YouTube wouldn't like the words I will say, but you could probably figure it out. You can put A and B together, figure out what I'm talking about. It doesn't look necessarily, you know, right. But, anyways, I think overall, one of my favorite moments of this episode has to be the situation with Tanjiro fighting the demon. That was probably one of my favorite scenes so far of the anime, because it demonstrates how much Tanjiro has improved, how he is not a novice. Like, he is a novice demon slayer, but he isn't necessarily bad at sword fighting, handling the sword, and seeing his sword play throughout this episode of fighting back the demon, and how he wasn't instantly demolishing this demon, is very reassuring, because he does need to struggle. Even though he's trained a lot, he's become very strong, he shouldn't instantly be able to destroy demons left and right, because he's only encountered a handful of demons. So, seeing him, like, instantly demolish, let's say, this demon in this episode, wouldn't necessarily, I think, be good for the long term. You know, we need to have Tanjiro struggle and figure out more about how these demons fight and how they operate when they're hunting humans before he can really go on and start fighting some really difficult opponents. And in this case, seeing, you know, the fight of how he was positioning himself to protect, you know, the person around him, it also limited to where he couldn't use all of his strength either, because if he was to do full-on power and try to slice the demon, he had a possibility of damaging the person he was trying to protect. And it's not just that either. If he would have gotten too far away to chase after the demon could have circled around, left Tanjiro, and attacked the person and dragged him in. So there's just a lot of things that could have gone wrong. So that's a big step there. So, Tanjiro, he had a lot of handicap in this episode. He wasn't instantly able to demolish the demon. He did need help, which, you know, Nezuko helped him out with. And so, I'm just glad to see a little bit of struggle with his character. Speaking of which, let's talk about the demon. The demon had a very unique power. It's pretty easy to look at what it does. Basically, the demon is able to go into some form of, like, dimension. It seems like it's kind of like a layer over the world that's kind of like liquid or water. He's able to kind of submerge himself in any object, basically walls, the ground, all of that, and he's able to just move throughout it like nothing, and you don't see him. I guess the only way you'd be able to sense him is by, you know, like being a demon slayer / being able to smell him, and that's how Tanjiro was able to discover it. And apparently, no matter where he strikes at, he does open up where this demon's realm is and is able to drag people out. So, the demon isn't necessarily immortal inside of that dimension. He's not like Vanilla Ice. If you remember Vanilla Ice from JoJo Part 3, then you know what I'm talking about. He's not like that. However, the demon still is very scary, because you could easily lose track of this demon, and depending on tight corners, like if you're like, let's say in a hallway inside of a house, it probably wouldn't necessarily be a good thing to fight this demon in, because it can go through probably the ceiling, to the walls, to the floor, and since there's 3 of them, you're getting attacked from multiple directions. It just to be bad all around. So I think this reveal to the demon's power is interesting, and I think now where the story is going, it's trying to say that all demons pretty much can have its own unique little power that is attached. It's not going to necessarily be the exact same thing, so that is pretty cool. So I am looking forward to seeing more of this demon's power, how it fights, and how Tanjiro is going to be able to take him down. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. How do you feel about this episode? How do you feel about the tone build-up, especially with the demon revealing all like the badges of his victims and stuff? Be honest in the comments below how you felt. I love you guys. You have a wonderful day or night wherever you live. If you enjoy my content, please subscribe. If you like this video, please leave a like. And if you want to get notified for whenever I upload a video, please click the bell icon down below. And with that, Chibi out.